Okay, I was wondering about this scene coming up, because last time it was like all the girls were playing volleyball. But since we are not a lady, I was wondering how it was going to go down. So all the ladies are, and I'm just watching. So, okay. Let's see how this plays out from this time. I'm lost the ability to speak. There's too many pretty women on screen. That day, the girls of the hostel were together playing a game of beach volleyball. I watched them from a distance, enjoying the view. Unfortunately, I wasn't the only one. A group of college guys was gathering around, openly ogling the girls and cheering when they left. Ashley didn't seem to mind, tossing her hair and smiling in their direction on occasion. Aussie, of course, drank in the attention like water. But Peggy looked a bit annoyed, and Jihyo was clearly embarrassed. As the game crept on, the boys grew rowdier, gradually starting to heckle them. Finally, Jihyo folded her arms across her chest and spoke up. I think I'm going to quit. I hate this. It's really freaking me out. I'll go with you. These losers are totally spoiling the mood. She glared in their direction, which only made a few of them laugh and hoot. It looked like she and Jihyo would have to walk right past the horny crow to leave. I'd better step in. Having trouble, ladies? Nothing I can't handle.
That's your boyfriend, Ginger Spice?
No.
Let's just... Yeah, he doesn't look like much of a man, does he?
The idiot put his hand on my chest and pushed me back. Not too hard, but clearly trying to posture for Peggy's benefit. Oh boy. The guy came and looked at you like that, and the music just died. I'd be gone. Oi! Out of absolutely nowhere, Danny appeared next to me, and... Eeh. The boy's arm was twisted at an odd angle, and he was screaming. Did he ask you to touch him? Did he?
No, sorry, I wasn't. Ow, I didn't mean nothing.
That's what I thought. Danny released the guy's arm and gestured for me to get Peggy and Jihyo out of there. He followed behind us. The girls looked at us in concern, then hurried off to the hotel. Danny? What was that back there? He ran a hand through his hair and took a few deep breaths. Then he turned towards me, a smile yet again on his face. I lost my temper. Sorry about that. Chills ran down my spine. Danny scanned my face and nodded. Well then, I'll get out of your way for now. I'm sure you're tired. Why don't you go rest? He gestured vaguely at somewhere, then headed inside the hotel without another word. I watched him go, completely confused. He'd always been so nice, so careful, so controlled. I knew about his past, but I'd never been able to connect the Danny I knew with whatever he'd been before. Was it really safe to be around him? There'd been no warning. One minute he was smiling, the next he was violent, and then it was like nothing was wrong. But Danny had never been anything but nice to me. I couldn't tell whether I was being smart or stupid. I couldn't tell whether this was the right thing to do. I took a deep breath and went into the hotel. Danny? Danny, please open up. I know you're probably in there. I want to talk to you. The door flung open so quickly that I jumped, and Danny appeared wearing only a towel around his waist, hair wet. He leaned on the frame and gave me a smile, a different smile from his usual one. So you came. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me into the hotel room, shutting and locking the door behind him. Danny? What are we doing here? I backed away, but he matched me step for step. I came up here to see if you're okay. If we're okay. What are you... Oh, there you go. This looks slightly familiar, although we're taller. My back hit the wall. There was nowhere else for me to go. Danny stood just in front of me, looking down at me. I could feel myself shaking. Where should I... What should I... He placed a hand next to my head and leaned down, eyes glinting. Danny? And then he kissed me, rough and intense. My response was pure instinct. I melted against him, my knees going weak, my hands on his shoulders for support, pulling him against me. His hand slid down my sides, and I became aware of the fact that all I was wearing was my swimsuit. His fingers brushed over my waistband. Wait, stop! Instantly, Danny pulled back, watching me with the same strange expression on his face. I was panting, fluorescent, unsure of what to do. I came to talk. Right. Sorry. Lost my cool. He took wide steps back from me until he was all the way on the other end of the room, arms raised. Sorry, I didn't mean... No, it's okay. I liked it. I blushed and looked away, and he ran a hand through his hair. It's better if I tell you quickly now so you can make up your mind. You might have been able to piece it together by now, but you see, how should I say this? I'm a very jealous man. I'm a very possessive man. I know that that's not the most attractive quality. I don't want to control your actions or anything. I don't want to blackmail you or manipulate you or guilt trip you for looking at other men or any of that kind of thing. But I don't want to see anyone else touch you. I don't want to think about anyone else touching you. I don't like anyone else even looking at you. I know it's me. It's in my head, and not everyone feels this way about their lovers. Apparently, some people can just get over it by dealing with their insecurities, but for me, that hasn't worked. It isn't because I'm insecure. It's just there. That is how I am. And that's why I haven't dated in the past few years. The way you reacted when I told you of my past, I began to hope. Again, I don't want to change anything about the way you behave. It is not my place to tell you what to do. But I have to tell you this. Those guys who were looking at you, laughing at you, their faces are etched into my mind. And if I ever had the misfortune of running into them again, I will beat their faces in. That one who pushed you. Danny calmly clasped his hands together. He was lucky I didn't rip his arm off. But my priority at the time was getting you and the others out of there. His voice is so quiet. I can hear my own heart beating. As you can see, that kind of thing has certain effects on me, and it makes me want to ensure that you are mine in more physical ways. I apologize for throwing that on you all of a sudden. You weren't warned, so you couldn't have expected it. Ahem. He looked at me again. His eyes were still dark. He was no longer smiling. So, it is up to you whether you want to continue to pursue our relationship now that you know. Please, if it makes you uncomfortable, leave. I know jealousy can get kind of sketchy in relationships, and if you ever feel I am behaving inappropriately, you can leave, and I will treat you as a friend or stranger accordingly. However, if you are still good with this, with me, all of my cards are on the proverbial table. He looked at me, and I stared back in silence. So, do we have a relationship, or don't we? Yeah, man. I blushed. I think I'm okay with this, Danny. I trust you. I know you're not going to hurt me, so I'll just take you as you come. We'll see where this goes, right? Danny stared at me in silence for a few seconds, then he stood and crossed to me. He grabbed me once again and pulled me into a kiss. Things were getting heated, very quickly heated.
Dang, he can't actually carry us, though.
He lifted me up and carried me over to the bed. Flynn, are you sure you're okay with this?
I'm just imagining Danny, like, holding Flynn in his arms, and Flynn winking at him like this. That was so funny to me. Anyway.
Yes, I am definitely okay with this. Please. He kissed me again, and there was no more talking between us that night.
Alright. Danny is strong.
The trip back to the hostel was filled with a tired, contented silence. After all the excitement of the trip, it seemed like most people just wanted to get back to their own rooms and relax. But there was also an undercurrent of dissatisfaction. We had been able to stay in a really nice hotel for a few days and have some actual fun, but now we were going back to our slum of a hostel and our terrible jobs. Still, in the end, this was the experience we had signed up for, even if we hadn't really known at the beginning how it would all work out. We had each other. Maybe we weren't all the best of friends, but we had learned to get along and work together. It was more than I could say about the members of my university class, either here or back in New York. So we headed back on the bus, hardly speaking until we finally pulled in and unloaded. Home sweet home. Sort of. Honestly, it didn't smell all that sweet after we'd been at the beach for a few days. But it was still my home. For now. I was sitting in the living room, stretching across the couch, trying to get the kinks out of my back when... Flynn, I think James is looking for you in the kitchen. Brendon stood in the doorway, a slight smirk on his face. A sense of unease crawled down my back. I nodded and crossed over, wondering what exactly was going on. I entered the dining area and found James there, frowning over an open laptop. Yes? Is something wrong? Sit. He gestured to a chair on the other end of the table, and I took it. Flynn, we know what you did. Perhaps you would like to confess and come forward. If you could return the money, that'd be even better. We could act like nothing happened. What? What are you talking about? If you confess right now, there'll be no need for drastic measures. You could even stay in the hostel and keep your job. I gaped like a fish. Finally, I realized something big, really big, must have happened. I'm sorry, but I think there must be some kind of misunderstanding here. Can you explain what's going on to me? James bristled. No point in doing it diplomatically, is there? Look here, thief. I know you took money out of the hostel register. What did you do with it? What? I never did such a thing. Of course you didn't. Which makes this video pretty hard to explain, doesn't it? He turned the laptop around so I could see it. A grainy, black and white video flickered on the screen and he hit play. It was the hostel entranceway, the reception desk. For a while, nothing happened. Then I appeared, fiddling around with the register. I opened the drawer and stared down at it. I looked around, then pulled something out of the drawer, fiddled with it some more, and disappeared. I was fixing the register like you asked me to. That's all. Fix the register? I never asked you to fix the register. I stared at him, too confused to know how to respond. Yes, you did. You're always making us fix things. You told me to fix the register because the drawer wasn't closing properly. It wasn't closing properly. There was a little bit of plastic wedged into the back. I had to pull everything out to get it free. In the video, my back was to the camera most of the time, covering up what I was doing. I know you can't really tell, but I swear that's what I was up to. Why would I steal from the hostel? The money that was supposed to be there is gone. How do you explain that? I couldn't even remember if there had been any money in the register when I was messing with it. I wasn't paying attention at the time. I wasn't expecting this. I don't know, but it wasn't me. This is your last chance. Return the money, and this doesn't have to go any farther. I didn't even know how much money was supposed to be missing. Oh my god. The trip funds. If they were supposed to be in the register, that was thousands of pounds. I didn't steal anything. I don't have any money. You can search my room if you want to. I swear, I didn't do it. I suppose you've already spent it then. I didn't take any money! I never would have expected this from a kid like you. I can't believe this is happening. I'd like to throw you out on your arse, but I've got landlord regulations, and I don't want to have to bring a police inspector around if I can help it. There's probably quite a few code violations in this hostel he doesn't want anyone to notice. So here's what's going to happen. You're fired, for starters. That means no job and no rent deal. Oh, crap. You pay your rent every week, and find that missing 120 pounds and you can stay. Otherwise, I'm within my rights to evict you. Straight onto the street if I have to.
120 pounds?
So it wasn't the trip funds that had vanished. It must have been only one of the drop-in guest payments. Wait, can we make a deal? Too late. You had your chance. Damn it! If I'd known it was only that much, I could have just paid him off to begin with. But then everyone would think I was a thief. I maintain that I'm innocent. I wouldn't do this to you guys or any of my friends, not after everything that's happened. But... my heart pounded. I didn't really have a choice here, did I? It was already a remarkably easy way out, considering he thought I was some kind of criminal. I will do it. I maintain my innocence, but I'll get you your money. I guess. James glared at me from across the table. I don't like you. Never have and now probably never will. Don't mess this up. If you do, you're out. He spat on the floor. Clean that up, why don't you? He got up and left. I crossed the room, got a washcloth, wetted, and started cleaning the floor, consumed by a feeling of disbelief. This couldn't really be happening. There was no way this was my life. It was a bad dream, it had to be. When I was finished cleaning, I threw the washcloth in the sink and left the dining room. I wanted some space, some time to think about what just happened. Surely there was some way to prove my innocence.
I want to see if Angela's actually going to punch us in the face this time.
But when I turned to head upstairs, I saw a large gathering of people on the landing.
Flynn!
A handful of hurt faces turned to me.
How could you do this to us? Haven't we all gotten along all this time? I cooked food for you. I trusted you. I thought we were friends. But even you, after all this time, maybe there's no one in the world worth trusting.
Are you really a thief? Damn! Shot right past me, I'll tell you that. I'm not happy about it, though. Definitely not. But part of me wants to congratulate you. You fooled everyone. I'd better be more careful with my wallet, huh?
How could you betray us like this after all this time? How could you do that to us? We're a family. Don't you understand that? We all stick together and look after one another. Did you steal my volleyball too? I can't believe you. You're despicable.
Stay away from me, or the next time I see you, I'm definitely kicking your ass.
Okay, so you wouldn't actually punch me. Thanks, Angie.
Nobody should take advantage of kindness or friendship. You're some kind of psychopath.
I'm just trying to process this. I don't know what to make of it. I'm not upset at all, though. I'm just really shocked, okay?
Well, frankly, I am just shocked. What a cruel person you are, Flynn. I can't believe you would do this to your friends.
She's totally in on it.
I think you should leave the hostel immediately. I don't feel comfortable with you here, and I'm sure everyone else feels the same. Here I thought I was the troublemaker, and I was completely wrong. But you can pack your stuff and shove right off. Nobody wants a thief in the house. But I swear I'm innocent! My protest sounded pathetic even to my own ears. Everyone hated me. Everyone absolutely hated me. But something felt off. Someone was missing. Danny! I immediately dashed up the staircase, heading for Danny's room, and... oh! I bounced back from whoever I had bumped into and fell back towards the staircase. A hand reached out and grabbed me, pulling me back into the hallway. As I regained my balance, I realized what had happened. Danny sat halfway down the staircase, head in his hands. He had saved me by falling himself. Danny! Jeez, I'm so sorry! I rushed to his side, placing my hands gently over his head. Did you hit the wall? Don't move, we have to make sure you're not bruised or bleeding, or you might have a concussion. Danny grabbed hold of my wrists and growled at me. I'm fine. He stood, pulling me up with him. Are you? Are you sure you're alright? He nodded. I've had worse than this. I don't think it's a concussion, but you're free to accompany me to bed if you're all that worried. He smirked at me and I gaped at him. Wait, you're not mad at me then? Mad at you? Blimey, how could I be mad at you? I don't care what you did. In fact, if you really did it, it just means we're more similar than I thought we were. But I doubt you did it. You're not the kind of person to cave under pressure, even financial pressure if it means hurting someone else. It's part of why I like you. You're better than I am.
Oh, Danny.
He shrugged nonchalantly. So you don't hate me? If you can accept me the way I am, with all that is definitely very, very wrong with me, then I can accept you the way you are. Whatever you think is wrong with you. I don't think anything is wrong with you, but, you know, I might be biased. Danny. Caught up in emotion, I grabbed him in an embrace. Ow! I pulled away hastily. Sorry. I might not have a concussion, but that doesn't mean I'm not sore. And can we get on some level ground? I don't feel like taking a second spill. Right, sorry. We returned to the top of the hallway where Brendon was emerging from his room with a glass of water. He eyed me as he did so, and Danny wrapped a hand around my waist and pulled me protectively towards him.
Heyo!
If you have a problem with Flynn, talk to me about it. Hey, I didn't say anything like that. Jeez, what's the matter with you? All on edge today, aren't you, pretty boy? Danny shrugged, and Brendon continued past us on his way to the kitchen. Well, thank you. For everything. What are you going to do now? I don't really know. All my relief in knowing that Danny was still standing by me immediately dissipated. Even if Danny believed me, no one else did. Was I supposed to convince them otherwise? Would I be able to find a job? Would I be able to stay in the hostel anymore? Would I even be able to stay in the UK? I can see you could use some time alone. Alone? I frowned. I'd rather stay with you, actually. Danny grimaced as if experiencing some kind of sharp pain. No. I don't think that's for the best. You should sort out your thoughts without me affecting you or, distracting you. Aw, you wouldn't distract me. In that instant, Danny shoved me against the wall and kissed me hungrily, his hands running up and down my body. When he finally pulled away, I was flushed and breathless. Oh. Okay. I see what you mean. He ran a hand through his hair and nodded. I'll be in my room if you need me, though. Just knock. Yep. Just knock. Will do. With a deep breath, he clasped me on the shoulder, then went into his own bedroom. Damn. Distracting indeed. But no matter how wonderful it was that Danny was on my side, I still felt despair closing in on me as I crossed the hallway. For now, there was nothing I could do but go to my room. The scenes from earlier today whipped through my mind. Wasn't it only a few hours ago that we were all on a bus together, traveling happily from the beach? How could my life change so quickly, so suddenly? The world seemed to be closing in around me. I felt like I was suffocating. There was too much pressure, too much negativity, too much darkness. There was nothing I could do. Nothing. Oh, what was that noise? I squinted into the darkness. A halo of light surrounded my phone. It was going off. No. Why now? I'm so tired. I didn't bother to answer, and finally the ringing stopped. I turned over and shut my eyes. The phone rang, and rang, and rang. It wouldn't stop. At some point I realized the people in the rooms next to me would get mad if I didn't make it stop. Even more mad than they already were. Oh, I grabbed the phone. Hello? Who is this?
Flynn! It's Nene and Jinsu!
Hey, stud. What do you want?
Damn, don't you sound happy to hear from us? And after we went through all this trouble to set up the call, we're in different time zones, you know.
Trouble? I squinted at the numbers on my phone. It's 4 a.m. here. How is that going through any trouble?
Ungrateful. Anyway, how are things doing over there?
I hesitated, not really knowing what to say. They probably didn't want to hear about my actual problems. Good. I've been good. My voice sounded false even to myself. There was silence on the other end, and I could just see Nene crossing her arms and narrowing her eyes.
Okay, what's the real story?
I explained to them the events of the past few hours, the humiliation, the sudden romantic problems, the end of the trip, and how I'd been framed for it all. I finished, my voice wobbling near the end, and hung my head.
Well, that's stupid.
Huh? What are you talking about? It's not stupid, it's horrible. How am I supposed to deal with this? How do I get through this?
By pushing through, obviously. What, you think life was meant to go 100% smoothly? Do you think your friends owe you their instant understanding and forgiveness? Humans are stupid, stupid creatures. We don't like having the wool pulled over our eyes, and we especially don't like it when someone destroys our trust. So of course everybody is mad at you. You'd be mad at them too.
But that's beside the point. How am I expected to do anything now?
They said they would let you stay in the hostel if you paid, right?
Yeah, but how? My visa only allows me to take part-time student jobs in England. Even if I can find someone willing to hire me, there's no guarantee I can cover my rent.
So call your parents and get help.
But would you rather have to ask them to get you a new plane ticket home because you've got nowhere to live? That'll cost money too, and you'd have to abandon your exams. There were only a few weeks left of the semester. He was right, it would be ridiculous to give up now. I had to tough it out at least that long. Everyone hates me.
Talk to your friends. Prove yourself worthy of their friendship. Make them realize there's no way you would ever take their money. Make it seem so completely out of character they have no choice but to trust you.
Also, try to find out who really took the money. That might help.
But you're not a detective, and if you can't solve the mystery, don't worry. That's not what really matters. It's your responsibility to look after yourself and love yourself first.
You sound like you've been reading self-help books again.
Well, they have really good advice. Shut up.
Jinsu and Nene always knew how to cheer me up. I was happy to see that didn't change, even when we were so far apart. These two were true friends, and they would always be there for me. Yeah, why not try? I could either lay down and let this all happen to me, or I could take a stand and try to control where it was going. Try to change things up. This was my responsibility now. It was my life. I could blame people and circumstances all I wanted, but in the end I could only control myself. This is my life. This is my semester abroad. I'll make sure it's the best it can be.
That's my boy. Now get some sleep. We'll talk to you again soon.
We hung up and I crawled back into bed, snuggling into the blankets. It was up to me to solve my money problems and reconcile with everybody. That was what I could do to change the situation. Better get some sleep. Tomorrow will be a big day. Did it technically count as today yet? Whatever. It's still so ridiculous. Blech. As soon as it was late enough in the day to be reasonable back home, I had to call my parents. I hated to do it. I hated to think how disappointed they would be. But Jinsu was right. Pretending that there wasn't a problem wasn't a mature thing to do. I had enough money to cover my rent for a few weeks, but not until the end of the time I was supposed to stay in England. I couldn't risk being thrown out onto the street. Maybe I could find another job somewhere, but I couldn't count on that. I needed fallback plans. With a heavy heart, I began to dial. That evening, with the immediate disaster dealt with, as best as I could manage for now, I had time to think. I knew I hadn't stolen the money, which logically meant that someone else had. Unless there was no money missing in the first place and James was just making it up for some reason. But why would he do that? As long as I was employed here, he could skim off me. If I left, he'd lose out. It was possible he was just wrong and there wasn't any money missing to begin with. James didn't look like a great bookkeeper. Still, if that were the case, how would I ever prove it? Oscar, my old boss at the Crafty Crown, was James's business partner. It was possible he might have borrowed money from the till for some reason. But if that were it, he should have explained the misunderstanding when James reported and fired me, right? During the time when the register drawer was broken and not closing right, anyone could have gotten into the register without even needing a key. The drawer was fixed before we went on the trip though, so if anyone got into the hostel while it was closed, they would have had a harder time. And surely James would have noticed that on the cameras. If the drop-in guest from last week had stolen the money, we'd have a hard time finding them again. Could it be someone else in the hostel? I still didn't know why Mark had so much money and had been so willing to give it away. He promised the money was clean, which actually sounded sort of suspicious. But if he were stealing from the hostel, why would he give me money? It just didn't make any sense. None of this would be happening if James hadn't sent me to fix the register drawer. And then it hit me. James didn't send me. Brendon told me that James wanted me to do it. Could it be that I was set up? Brendon certainly didn't seem too surprised by my being a thief. I needed to have a little talk with him. I finally managed to track him down while he was making a sandwich in the kitchen. When he saw me enter, he grinned. Well, if it isn't our neighborhood betrayer. You seemed so friendly at first. I know you're the one who did it, Brendon. What? Me? He finished his sandwich and took a bite, talking with his mouth full. Why on earth would I do that? I don't know. That's what I came to ask you. I don't expect you to let me off the hook. I know you hate me for some reason, but why? Brendon chewed thoughtfully. Do you want the real answer? I hesitated. Yes. He shrugged. I just do. I hate people like you. You've never had to work hard for anything, have you? You don't know what it's like to struggle. Your biggest problem in life is probably that you don't know what you want to do with the rest of it. Do you know how lucky that is? Do you know how impossibly fortunate you are to have a problem like that? Everybody likes you immediately, you're on everyone's good side, and you immediately made things difficult for me. Sure, I'm a terrible person because I ruined some guy's meal. I'm sure that's all you ever thought about it. Brendon's a jerk. Probably stupid, too. Not worth my time. Do you know what I had to do for Oscar to keep my job after you ratted me out? You don't know anything about me. You don't know why I do what I do. You just assume I'm worthless. Evil. So I thought, okay, let's be evil. You want me to hate you. I'll give you a reason to believe it. I gave you exactly what you wanted. From where I'm standing, I did nothing wrong. And what are you gonna do now? Wanna hit me? Wanna get mad? Go ahead. It's not gonna change anything.
Okay, yeah, sure, but why did you have it out for me and ruin that guy's meal to begin with? Everything else makes sense, but the initial you being like, I don't want to be your buddy, I don't get it. But I'm on a good ending right now, so I'll try to understand you, but I will hit you one day.
What he said wasn't true. It wasn't the least bit true. I had struggles. Sure, I'd grown up in a safe, stable, middle-class home, and I'd never had to worry about where my next meal was coming from, and no one really close to me had ever died or gone to prison or anything. Was what he said right? Did I live in too much of a bubble to understand other people? Then, why did you mess up that guy's food? Brendon grunted, looking away. None of your business. But trust me, he deserved it. Brendon grabbed his plate and left without another word. Was there more to him than met the eye? Or was I being taken in by a Decepticon? I didn't know anymore. If Brendon was responsible for the theft, what could I possibly do about it? I was no detective. I couldn't break into a room to search for clues. What clues would there be anyway? There was only one possibility, and it was a pretty long shot. For now, I needed to get my act together and focus on my finances.
That was interesting.